on trust is like, it's a weird game because you can have past experience with, an industry contact, but then there's also the real world where you have to give trust before you even can really receive it. Thanks for inviting me on here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I've talked to people in the past that are in the real estate business, residential, commercial, and I'll be honest with you, to me, it's like this foreign thing, right? There's a whole world around real estate, and I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So for me to think about, hey, I want to get into real estate, that's something that's never crossed my mind. So to explain how you got into real estate, what was it that drew you into that industry?
So initially kind of the interest started growing up. I saw, like two of my dad's best friends were both in real estate. And, I don't know, there's the little things you notice growing up. Like they had a pool in their backyard. They had stairs in their house, or those things is like, and didn't really know what they did, but like, oh, they're in real estate. And it's like, and just seeing, and then my wife got into residential. Kind of, she was right out of college. It's what she really wanted to do. And she was like, man, I don't really think I can just jump into this. And so she ended up getting a marketing job for a year and just didn't like it. And I was like, okay, what do you really want to do, in 10 years or 20 years? And she was like, I definitely want to be in real estate. I want to be a residential real estate agent. And like no questions asked. I was like, well, just do it now. And if we fall on our face, we fall on our face. And so she jumped in, and I think that was like 2016, 2017. And then we kind of immediately dove in like from the investment side. And I was working in the family business. My dad has a t-shirt company, Be Unlimited. And kind of anything that we made was like, all right, let's try to buy an investment property, and like, let's go in and renovate. And we just learned along the way and didn't really have like someone who was teaching us. It was more so I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I was reading books, and I remember like mowing the lawn in our first house, and just like every time I was out there, I was listening to real estate podcasts, and just like wanting to soak it up. I was so interested, and I wasn't working in the industry, but to me, like conceptually, it was like, oh my gosh, like, you can rent a house for this, and your payment's this, and and it's just simple. I can understand, like, here's kind of the long-term view of like of growing wealth in real estate, but also just like the long-term growth of the area. Little by little, we like we moved around a good bit, and every time we moved, we'd renovate the house we were in, and then we bought a place up on the lake and renovated that, and did that a few more times in town. And as that progressed, I was like, man, I'd love to. I was working in the t-shirt business with my dad, and like doing sales, and there was just a whole different story, but I enjoyed it, but I like knew it wasn't long term, and I wanted to carve my own path. And then when the time came, I told Lindsay, I was like, man, I really want to do my own thing. And she was like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I think I want to work in real estate. And she was like, you're not going to get in real estate. That's my thing. Like, I'm going to, you can't do that.
Back off.
I was like, yeah, exactly. It's like, well, babe, I think we can do different things, but I didn't really know. It's so broad. And so I started calling everyone I knew, family, friends, like, hey, what's property management like? What's development like? What's commercial brokerage? What's residential brokerage? And was following around a family friend who was building some apartments in West Bentonville. And I was like, man, I'd love to like work with you, work for you, learn from you. He's like, man, I don't really have anything for you to do. He's like, really get connected to, he said his buddy Alan Bennett, who I ended up going to work with. He's in the brokerage business. It's a really good way to like learn the business from the ground up. What are these values? Who are the tenants? What can you rent things for? And I was like, okay. And so I just jumped on in, and that was how I got into it. There.
I'll tell you the lens that I look at real estate. Well, there's two. There's residential, and then there's the commercial. And I understand they're two different worlds, right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So commercial is the world that you're living in. Your wife is in real estate.
In residential.
Residential real estate. I'm sorry. So let's look at commercial. When I look at a piece of property, I just see, oh, they ought to, tear that down and build a gas station or, and
Yeah.
I just, to me, I don't really have any thought around it. So when you see a piece of property, what do you see?
I think it's where the creative part of my brain like triggers. Like growing up, my two younger brothers it was very easy to see their creativity. One of them was really into theater. The other one's really into music. And I was into music, but like not in the same way, but like, and so growing up, it was kind of saying like, oh, Coleman and Cooper are the creative ones, which is very true. But like, I never realized that like I loved using that side of my brain so much. And like, I like to use that in real estate. And so when I'm like, one project we're working on right now is we're taking an old church and we're converting it to a restaurant, coffee shop, and microbrewery. And then we're building 8 townhomes around it. And it's kind of like it's front end of a movement that's happening nationally. It's called YIGBY, yes, in God's backyard. So you traditionally when you've got people who don't want development in their backyard, they're called NIMBYs. Not in my backyard. Don't put this here. But now there's a lot of these.
You have your own slang?
Yeah, exactly.
This is awesome.
But there's all these neighborhood churches that exist, but the model of the American church has gotten so much bigger, and so there are these buildings that are kind of becoming obsolete. But like, and so things like that. It's like, okay, what could we do here, and like what's in other markets that's like attractive, and that kind of came off of an idea in Austin that we went to and saw, and but no, I really like math, and so to me, when I was in the brokerage business, I was doing a lot of retail real estate, so restaurants, gas stations, and daycares and that sort of thing, but being able to see, okay, if you buy a building for X and then put the tenant in here, because the new rental income the building's generating, it's worth Y, and that just like it can be dumbed down and so simply, it gets more and more complex, but I like that it's simple to understand, and I love the math behind it. And so to me, that's like, it's like a creative piece and the like more logical side come together for me there.
All right. And you're telling this story, and I'm thinking, I'm reflecting back. I was listening.
Yeah.
It's not that I wasn't listening. Last night, I took my daughter to Giraldi's.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking at this shopping complex or whatever.
Yeah. Shopping center. Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if they did X with this, I'm sure they could get more rent. So when you see a place like that in a location, what do you? I mean, I just saw a pizza place and a barbecue place. And,
yeah, I mean, frankly, we probably see things that are like very similar. It's just see like, oh man, if they just painted this and put a new roof on it, like there'd be you could probably charge more rent, and so I mean, that I think that's the beauty of what real estate is like it's so local. Like it can be national, you can put a McDonald's anywhere, but it's also like it can be very local. Like whether you know it or not, you know your neighborhood better than anybody else does because you drive your neighborhood all the time, whether it be a residential side or the commercial side, the things you're passing, and you're like, man, this thing would probably work here. I mean, it may not from the math side, but at least you've got some kind of a gut you can go off of there. And there's also I think the difference between real estate and like the stock market is like, I mean, whether you can say this out loud or not, but it's like insider trading is legal in real estate because it's like you can kind of know what's going on around it. It's like, I know this park's going in over here, so I can buy this thing next door, and I know that's going to kind of like, it's local, and you can understand what's, this apartment complex is going in.
Yeah. Okay. So I've teed up this situation.
Yeah.
All right. Podcast is TrustBuilt.
Yeah.
So now I'm coming at you as a tenant.
Uh-huh.
I was a tenant for 13 years, right?
Yep.
And depending on the relationship I had with the landlord, it was a love-hate relationship.
Sure. Yeah.
There was especially when the space that I was in was bought by another company. The first thing I thought was, oh, we're going to get screwed now.
Here we go.
What's coming? Here it is, right? So there's that apprehension or lack of trust.
Yeah.
So when you have a situation that you're going to buy a place and you're dealing with the same tenant, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so we've gone through that, and try to just be as honest and direct with the tenants as possible. And I think it's an awkward situation because especially if, you go in and, you may see back to that center where Giraldi's is at. Say you bought that retail center, and the first guy came in and he bought it for $200,000, 20 years ago, but it's actually worth $1 million now. And so you think you can still add value to it, but you have to pay $1 million now. Mm-hmm. You need to charge more in rent to cover your debt on that there. And so where we've seen it has been, hey, Mrs. Tenant, Mr. Tenant, I'm sorry. Here's the situation that we're in. Things are more expensive than they were when the last guy bought the building. Interest rates are higher. I want you to stay. Love what you're doing here, which may not be the case. They may not be the right tenant for it, but assuming this is the right business, they're doing well, and it's like, hey, you really want them to stay. I want you to stay. Here's what, I may charge someone who's coming in new, where I want to market the space at, but I'm going to give you a discount on that because that's the lowest I can go, with this building I bought because I paid a whole lot more than the last guy. Yeah. But it's, people get worried.
Yeah. It's hard to show compassion in a situation like that when the numbers are what they are.
Yeah.
And it's a direct impact to their bottom line, and they're like, I got to make money, then they're especially like a restaurant. I know we're picking on restaurants, but it's that industry is so hard to get them to raise their prices, even when they know they need to raise their price. They're like, I'll run all my customers off, right? Mm-hmm. It's not your problem. It's a them problem. And that's a delicate situation.
Yeah.
And it comes back on you, but it shouldn't.
No.
Right. So I don't envy that part of the real estate when there's a situation that you have to handle. And of course, I know we're talking about trust here, but compassion's tough.
Well, and the little guy, 99% of the time, is getting the short end of the stick. Yeah. And it's like right now we're looking at a deal in South Fayetteville that's like a value add multifamily project. Like, whether it be us or someone else who buys it, like if you buy, you're going to have to raise rents. You're going to have to renovate it and raise rents. And it's like, it's kind of sad right now to some extent because it's really hard to find a place to live. Like, and especially if you're fresh out of school, it's like but also the math doesn't work. If like this owner is selling the property, someone is going to go in and renovate it. And it's like, you can be the one who does it well or the one who does it poorly and still charges the same thing. So it's an awkward situation right now.
Yeah. And at the flip side, of course, that's the woe is them part of it. But then there's the other side of it. Once you get a piece of property and you develop it to what is something that is, more appropriate or cosmetically better or whatever improvements are done, I would think that would be something much more palatable to those in the community, right?
Yeah.
Am I thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You can deliver a product that's better than what was there before.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm so glad that they, either renovated it or tore it down. Yeah. I'll share a story with you. Yeah. So a friend of mine had rent houses in Little Rock.
Uh-huh.
And where it's on Markham Street.
Yep.
And there was a row of houses that he bought. I think there was like 4 or 5 houses he bought in a row and tore it down, had it rezoned to commercial. Everybody was throwing a fit over it. Well, let me back up. Before he tore it down, he had to get the rezoning, right? So he's going to rezone it and then do it. And the whole neighborhood threw a fit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're not doing this. And so he had this guy that a friend, well, I don't know if he was a friend, but somebody he knew, all he knew was the guy's name was K9, right? So he got K9 and all his buddies to move into the house. All of a sudden, commercial option look like?
A whole lot better.
A whole lot
Yeah.
better. Now, I don't recommend doing that, but it's all about perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about perspective. And that's kind of what you were getting at, that, hey, if somebody doesn't do it the right way, it could be worse.
Yeah. And people hate change. They just, even if the worst business is going out of business, it's like, it's going to, inevitably someone's going to have a good memory of going there and a good experience, and they're going to be upset and sad, and whether it be you're the guy that takes them out of business or not, somebody else is, you're the one that people are going to be yelling at, talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your world, and I want to stay on this theme of trust.
Yeah.
Right? When you go and you find this piece of property, now you've got to go and hire the electricians or plumbers or whoever's doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
From what I know, there's some really good ones out there. There's some really bad ones out there. How do you interact with the people that you contract out with? What does that look like when you just talk through contractors and the relationships that you might have with them?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it's trial by fire. So my progression with all this has been, started with residential homes and kind of learning. Lindsay and I, my wife, learning together, okay, we tried out this person and got burned, but we tried out this other person and we really love this electrician. And to get it, just kind of figuring it out as we go. But and now, in this full-time real estate developer job, it's, I'm predominantly interacting with architects, engineers, and the contractors, general contractors. I mean, it's I think what's really been important for me, thus far here is, especially in that stage, is finding vision aligned people, and where, I feel like I can tell pretty fast that, and someone told me this as I was getting into the industry, the jerk real estate, developers are going to work with the same type of architects, same type of engineers, because inevitably that no one else wants to work with them, and they end up kind of finding that's the group of trades they end up working with, or industry contacts they end up working with. And but no, finding folks who kind of maybe understand the project, understand the goal, and on trust is it's a weird game, because you can have past experience with an industry contact, but then there's also the real world where you have to give trust before you even can really receive it. There. And
Well
so
said.
sometimes it's more blind.
Yeah. It's so let's expand on that just a little bit more. When you finally connect with someone, all the stuff that you're talking about is more task oriented, and when you get that alignment with those people, what does that look like?
It's pretty incredible. I mean, I'm working with a civil engineer right now that we had a situation where we got thrown kind of a last minute thing. A lot of times working with any of these cities, it's there's so many different people you're having to talk to at once, and you're just kind of constantly scrambling, okay, are we doing everything we can to hit this deadline and that deadline? And we're in a situation where it's hey, we need to, the city is on our side here, and but we've got to hit this deadline by tomorrow, because there was something that happened that was out of our control. And I got on the phone with a civil engineer and was hey, if you need to get paid a little bit more, we've got to hit this date tomorrow, and they're going to be working way late into the night to get it done. And his response was hey man, I just need to know that we're appreciated and we feel that way, and we're going to do whatever it takes, and we're going to get it done. It's he's we're all square on our end. And so finding the right vision aligned folks there, vibe and tribe, I haven't heard that before. It's a big deal, because in those moments, it's just knowing that someone's going to pull through and wants to make it happen, is committed to the job. it's so easy right now in the world we live in. Just like, I don't really feel like answering the phone right now, or I've got other things I can work on. The world we live in now, it's so much. The separation between people who are committed to the job and not committed is so much bigger than it's ever been, in my opinion. It just, you can tell who's falling behind and who's like an A player.
Yeah. We were talking earlier. Yeah, Carrie and I were talking about engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? And what you just described there is somebody that is not an employee, but is a counterpart of some sort. A working colleague that is engaged with what you're trying to accomplish. So now we're talking vision type stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So creating the vision, that shared vision of what that needs to look like. So in your world, when you're trying to do this, let's go back to tenants, whether the tenants are there or it's a different space and you're trying to attract a tenant.
Sure.
What is vision? I know when I was shopping around, all the real estate agents were telling me, oh, this will be perfect for your business. And then that one say that this is a perfect spot for your business.
Yeah.
So how do you help them see, is it really a good fit for me or not?
Well, I think overall, like, not trying to sugarcoat something that's not true, like, I think is the biggest thing, because one thing that when I was working with Clinton, one thing I'm really appreciative that like he taught me while I was there was like, man, it's a small town, Northwest Arkansas. We're growing a lot. There's 600,000 people now, but it's like, you don't want to bump into someone at the grocery store and you sold them a building that wasn't actually a good deal for them, or call it in this tenant space here, like, hey, you told them this was going to be a great space for them because of this, and it actually wasn't. And so I think first off, like, if you have a vacant building, you got to get it filled, but you got to get it filled with the right person. And, having, whether it be on the developer side or having a good listing broker that understands that. And because the last thing you want is like them to get into it and not be able to perform, which I've seen before. And it sucks on all parties. But as far as casting a vision for the space, I think for me, it's really important. Like, any project that we're diving into, like, it's a hell yeah. We're like, we really want to do it, and we're compelled based off of all these reasons. The math works. The long term, vision for this area of town is there. And then if we believe that from the get go, it's explaining to the tenant, explaining to the bank, or whoever is going to be easy to investors, or however, because that's what, to me, sales is a scam if you're not really passionate about what you're talking about. But if you genuinely have, if you're compelled for a reason, that's when sales is fun and easy. And I don't really think calling it sales, that's the term, that's the real name, but like, right, you're just getting excited about something and able to communicate that with somebody else.
So changing gears just a little bit when we're talking about vision, because I know somebody that's in commercial real estate, and this guy, he's got partners.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily limited to just Northwest Arkansas. I know they're looking at property in different states.
Yep.
So is that a different type of business plan, or is it local versus non-local, or how does that look?
No, just different type of business plan. I mean, there's like, capital groups here based out here in Northwest Arkansas. They're trying to buy, more workforce housing in the southern U.S. and kind of all across. But then like a lot of their investors may be based out of Northwest Arkansas or Arkansas, and then I think having a strategy, having a niche is the most important thing in commercial real estate, because you can't be all things for all people. You can't be, someone who's buying industrial property and retail and multifamily in all areas of the country. Or you have a massive team that's like had different departments doing each thing. But in general, it's like you're either region focused or you're product type focused. And that way, you're building a following of investors and people who are building trust with the people, like whether the banks or, debt or equity side, that you can perform.
Okay. Well, that I learned something, because to me it was commercial, right? But but it's not. It's not that way. Yeah. So there's a specific strategy around how you're going to serve the community, or how you're going to accomplish
the returns that you're trying to get at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So last question.
Yeah.
As you look at the future for your business, when you're bringing team members on, how do you share the career path that you're on? How do you share that with them? How are you going to grow?
So I'm asking myself that question right now. No, I
didn't mean to throw that one.
No, it's funny you asked that, because so right now the staff of CJC Development is me and then one other person, and Katie Wallace, and she's phenomenal. She does operations, admin, kind of everything. I'm much more, vision, sales, go, and she makes sure we're like, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and I think we're at a point, maybe not there yet, but kind of at the point. Okay, are we in our world? You could stay really small from a people perspective, or you can try to grow into a large organization, where you're taking on a lot more projects or a lot bigger projects that just, and so team can mean employees, or it can mean, working with a lot of different vendors and those kind of being part of the team, which is the model that we're set up for right now, where, we have the contractor, the architect, or whoever that we, want to work with predominantly, and whether they're like actually on staff or just we're using their firm a lot, and so that can mean team there too. And so I don't know is the answer. I know what type of projects we want to go do, and those are predominantly in Fayetteville. They've got a retail office or infill component to them, and we've got a size threshold we're trying to hit there too. And I think if we can focus on doing that well, then I think we'll be able to fill in the gaps as far as, okay, now we know we need help here or help there with the team. But I'm 6-7 months into it right now, so we're very fresh on like the new CJC development company, and so but I'm excited to see how that turns as years go on, because definitely, like, the reason I wanted to go do this, go into the world of real estate development full time, was I see myself here for the long term. Here's in Northwest Arkansas for the long term, and so it's not like you have to stay in it for a while to really see the benefits, which I think is with any industry. People say it's 10 years, until you're really like making any money or seeing a lot of, employee growth, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Every business that I've encountered in the however many years I've been doing this, there's always the strong ones that really thrive have the visionary and the executor, right? So there's that team, and whether it's in real estate or it's, plumbers or doctors, I've physicians, I've seen that too. There's always, those are the ones that tend to thrive, and they understand their place.
Yeah.
Right. Stay out of my backyard. Right. That now, not necessarily that way, but when it's clearly stated that way, and it sounds like you've got your partner's more of the executioner, because you said dot the I's, cross the T's. Yeah. Yeah. Those people are strong.
Yeah. I need those people in my life. Yeah.
Yes. I appreciate that greatly.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on today. This has been fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks, Alan. I really, really enjoyed it. Excited about what you're doing, and I think it's going to make a good impact here in the community. So thank you.
You bet.